ঠিক আছে ম্যাডাম। আসছি স্যার। আর এলাম ম্যাডাম। তুমি তোমার কাজগুলি করো, হ্যাঁ? কিন্তু এদিক ফলে এসে গেছি। আর সে আমি জল টল খেয়ে আমি বাথরুমের কাছে চলে আবার দুটো খাবার খেয়ে একটু দেরি আছে। তোমার চান পান পর্ব হয়ে গেছে? কি ফেসিলিটি পাওয়া যাবে পরে শুনে নেবো তোমার কাছে।
ডকুমেন্টও পড়ে যাবে প্লাস ওই যে বাড়িতে এসে তোমার
পাসবই নিয়ে
যাবে তারপরে চার্জ গুলো লাগবে না ডিসপ্লে করে যাবে।
ভালো কথা। ওরা তো আজকে কিন্তু কাজটা হয়ে গেল ভালো হলো, হ্যাঁ? ওরা তো ঘুরতে ঘুরতে আসছে, দুপুরে আসার থেকে এখনই হয়ে গেল। হাতলের ওপরটা এই
Hello, welcome again, all of you. Our second session on orientation session on National Innovation and Startup Policy, that is NISP. So we are going to start our second session on NISP, orientation session on NISP. So for this session, our speaker is our eminent professor of our college, TECB, Mr. Pallab Nandi Chaudhary sir. Professor Pallab Nandi Chaudhary sir. He is the speaker of this orientation session. So I'd like to request Mr. Pallab Nandi sir, please start your session. Over to you, sir. Hello, Pallab sir. Are you hear me, sir? Pallab Nandi Chaudhary sir, are you hear me, sir? Hello, sir. Am I
Hello.
audible, sir? Yes.
Yeah.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Clearly. Okay, sir. You can start your
Yeah.
session, sir.
Hi,
Over
guys.
to you, sir.
Can you listen to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So rather than wasting much time, let's start. Today's session on NISP is basically not something which I'm going to teach you. Rather, it is some message that I want to convey to you. Okay. As we go on with the session, you will come to know that all of us are basically stakeholder of this NISP thing, if this is possible to implement in our institute at the end, right? So I will request you to carefully observe the points that has been conveyed by ministry to us. First thing that I will like to mention is that the things I'm going to show to you are not something which has been developed or fabricated by us at TECB. It has been conveyed to us by Government of India itself, Ministry of HRD, and they have told us to implement or develop some kind of ecosystem to promote startup at higher education institute level, right? So all the points that I'm going to show to you, don't take them for granted. Just put your own thoughts on them and try to come up with some practical ideas what we can do. So let's start. So here you can see the Ministry of HRD has proposed some key entrepreneurial characteristics, right? Just I will quickly go through the points. Just have a quick look. First, motivation, the enterprising person. That means a person who comes up with a startup is a highly motivated person, energetic, and has a capacity for hard work. Then he or she must have creative tendency, calculated risk taking capability. Now they have tried to put some difference between productive and unproductive entrepreneurship. Now, when we say entrepreneurship of startup, you see, it is my own opinion. At the end of the day, you are developing or you are starting a business for profit, right? As well as you want to provide employment to a group of people. And in that way, you want to return something to the society, right? So they have differentiated productive and unproductive entrepreneurship. Like productive entrepreneurship is something which introduces new products, new processes, new markets, new supplies, new organizations. And unproductive entrepreneurship is something which refers to rent-seeking activity, right? Such as lobbying government for favors, taking legal actions to harm your competitors, then conducting military activity. So if you look into the domain of unproductive entrepreneurship, it is my opinion that when you start a business, so from the perspective of competition, these things are inevitable, right? Now, countries with cultures and institutions that reward unproductive entrepreneurship will channel more of their entrepreneurial efforts to rent-seeking activities, as it has been mentioned in the previous point, and consequently, the economy will perform poorly. So, highly theoretical concept. Later on, Ministry of HRD has provided some statistics. One important statistics that I will like to show you, just a second. I will come to the slides later on after some time. Yes, come to this slide. Global Innovation Index 2019. So if we can correlate the startup ecosystem as it is available in our country, you can compare our country with the rest of the world. You can see that in Global Innovation Index, Switzerland is on the top. Sweden is at the second position. So in this index, the top two countries have scored 67.24 and 63.65 respectively, while our country, India, is on the 52nd number. with 36.58 points. So clearly you can imagine it is not an easy task to start a startup or entrepreneurship business in India. So this is something which is evident from the statistics itself, but should we stop here? I believe no, because although our country is performing not much better in terms of indices, you can find a lot of successful startup ventures in India as well. So let we go back to some more points which have been emphasized by MHRD. Entrepreneurship and economic growth. Not all types of entrepreneurship are good for economic development. Now, here is something which again I believe is contradictory. Small and micro farms are not necessarily synonymous with entrepreneurship. Many of them do not focus on innovation and contribute significantly to economic growth and development, right? So during our previous session, the gentleman have told us that government of India is putting a lot of budget for MSME. You might have noticed small and micro farms. But once again, in startup policy implementation, they are saying that small and micro farms are not necessarily synonymous with entrepreneurship. So this point is once again not much clear. So you think yourselves, and if you can come up with some debatable ideas on this point. Now, low quality and informal entrepreneurship. Now, informal entrepreneurship is an important term here. So, may have negative externalities. So, in that sense, the definition of startup becomes important, I believe. So, from this informal entrepreneurship concept, we will come to the climax point for our meeting, our discussion today. You can see that you can start a garment shop in your locality. That is your business. You can employ 5 persons. At the end of the month, you might have quite a good turnover. But unless and until it is properly registered in proper channel, so your enterprise will be termed as informal. So why? That is once again my point of view. If your enterprise is informal one, informal in the sense you have registered your shop or business with local authority, if you go through the law and order books, you will find that government of India is not going to get direct tax benefits from you or cannot directly collect taxes from you, right? So in that sense, government of India recognizes startups in 2 forms. Either you have to register your business as a private limited company or as a limited liability partnership, as has been mentioned in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs law. So what is the benefit for you if your organization or business is a private limited or limited liability partnership business? Then you can get the startup benefits as has been mentioned by Government of India. On the other hand, what is the benefit for government? If your organization is an LAP or PVT Ltd, then you have to pay a lot in monetary terms for compliances each and every year. So you can see that in that case, if your business is a registered startup, government of India directly becomes a stakeholder in your business, as well as you and your customers, direct or indirect customers, are stakeholders of your business. But if your entrepreneurship is an informal one, then government of India is not a direct stakeholder in that sense. I think this makes sense. The presence of growth-oriented entrepreneurs seem to be more important than general entrepreneurship. So these are some generalized concepts. I think we should not waste much time here. Now, here is something important. Role of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship in economic development. They have mentioned that uh, entrepreneurship in economic development can give something to the society in terms of capital formation. Um, if you have a well-defined, well-organized, and well-doing startup, then you can create large-scale employment opportunities for society. Now, you can promote balanced regional development, reduce concentration of economic power. That means you can directly challenge monopoly over some business concept. Wealth creation and distribution, increasing gross national product and per capita income, improvement in the standard of living, promote countries' export trade, induces backward and forward linkages, facilitates overall development. Now, if you look into these points, you can come up with two contradictory ideas. Now, you can form some capital, you can create some kind of employment for society without going into much compliances and bureaucratic hazards if you form your enterprise as an informal one, right? And in that case, you have to pay much less tax to the government as well. So why government might have been promoting to formalize your startup? It might be because if your startup is a formal one, in that case, for government agencies, it will be easier to track your business, because if you have a local business, then your production statistics might not go to the direct statistical data in gross national product or per capita income, right? So you can think it like, if your business is a local one, then there is basically no government agency which can directly track your business or directly track your production. But if your business is a LLP or private limited company, then you have to fill up your balance sheet, etc., each and every year, where you have to mention your production capacity in terms of net assets, etc., There are some, I mean to say, bookkeeping oriented terms. Now, here is something which MHRD might have observed. Now, when you will have an orientation towards doing your own business rather than going for 10 to 5 job, certain factors might play here, such as economic environment, social environment, type of skill and technical knowledge, family background, religious and cultural affiliation, financial condition, availability of support facilities, psychological factor. Obviously, psychological factor is an important point here. Last but not the least, government policy and political environment. So why government policy and political environment is an important factor here? You can find the justification in this slide: startup mortality. So it has been observed that Majority of startups basically die within 1.5 to 2 years approximately of inceptions. Now, 55% of failed startups have received funding. So it is another important point. Failed startups, it is not that startups always die due to lack of fund. 55% of the startups which have failed got some kind of funding. Now, 25% failed startups graduated from incubators and accelerators. Later on, you will learn more about this incubator thing. They have, MHRD has proposed us to implement some kind of incubation center in our institute as well. So when your business pass through this incubation phase, it means that your idea is business ready. But then also, in 20% of the cases, as per the statistics provided by the government, startups fail. Now, they have observed that major issues out of which startups basically fail are scalability related issue. That means failure to scale business, low market demand and sales, you can see it here, and strong competition. Obviously, competition is something which is always there in business. Funding and cash related issues, then business model related issues, external factors. We will look into this external factor thing after some time. Founder, top management related issues. So you can see that more or less this zone, that means scalability, funding, business model, founder, are something which is more or less related to some internal issues of the business. Now come to the external factors. External factors might play some roles here, such as regulatory changes, demonetization, government norms. During demonetization, a lot of startup business holders were forced to uh, quit their business, stop their business due to socio-political factors. So in that sense, you can correlate this point, which has been mentioned by government itself, government policy and political environment, how it can play a crucial role in the success of a startup. So that was in a nutshell the points which has been provided to us by government itself in terms of startup. Now come to the actual policy itself. What policy is government is saying us to implement at higher education institute level, right? So think of the situation like this. You have come up with your next revolutionary idea, right? Now you believe that your idea has all the capacity to change the life for you as well as for the people around you. Now the question you need to ask to yourself is your idea business ready? If you think about a business or observe the startup businesses around you, as you know, all of us are engineers or wannabe engineers, right? So we like to think about every concept in terms of technology. But if you look into some successful startups around ourselves, not all of those are basically technology oriented, right? For example, I don't know, I cannot recall the name of the business, There is the famous tea stall holder, Calcutta Tea House, Tea Junction, sorry, Tea Junction. That is also a startup business. Now, if you look into the business model of Tea Junction, they are not doing business where technology has a major role to play. So your technical knowledge is only 10 to 15% of the thing. So your technical knowledge can give you some idea about the product you want to sell, you want to develop, or the idea you want to develop, the service you want to provide onto that thing, those things only. But rest of the 80 to 85%, 90% things are basically your business aptitude, not business knowledge. Why aptitude? If knowledge had to play a major role here, all the IIM or Harvard graduate would have been successful entrepreneurs. It is not always true. You will find that there are a lot of entrepreneurs who lack our so-called formal education still today. So why it is like so? Because they might lack, they might not have enough theoretical knowledge about business models, compliances, law and order, but they have sound uh, business aptitude. So you can see that you have the startup knowledge here. Now, money and connection, if you want to make your idea or translate your idea into a successful business model, you need some kind of money, some kind of business connection to do your marketing, uh, do your retailing or e-tailing, whatever it might be. So when we say money, you can draw money from public services. You can draw money from different sources. We will come to this later on, such as angel funding, hedge funding. You can take bank loans. You can make connections using some kind of public services, government provided services. Government is coming up with lot more projects, as it has been mentioned. Once again, I will refer to our previous session, where you might have noticed that government is trying to promote MSME, as well as you can avail the similar services from private service providers as well. So in that sense, next step would be to translate your idea to the next level. This was your beginning level, and next level goes like here you identify your key stakeholders depending on the nature of your business. Then you go through the development phases. You can see it here as we study in our regular course curriculum. We have some subjects such as uh, software engineering. We have some subjects like business process management, where you have come up with some similar content, where you have some idea, then you create a successful business model, then you validate your product, then you validate your business, then you start your business formally by forming a company. So from here, the task of our Institute Innovation Council starts. Ministry of HRD has told us to uh, come up with some idea by implementing which we can develop something in our institute itself, so that if someone of us has some startup idea, we can translate it into a successful business. So here, for that purpose, we were asked to form a committee, and from that committee, we have to do some kind of brainstorming. Then we have to fabricate some ideas. We have to take necessary permission to implement those ideas as well. So depending on the guideline as it has been proposed by MHIRD, we have formed a preliminary committee here in TECB itself. So as I have mentioned some time before, that when you talk about business, you need people from different domains. Technology or theoretical knowledge is only 10 to 15% of the things. So we have tried to uh, make our committee as much diverse as possible. We have some kind of expert members, Momita ma'am, Shomaditya sir, Shubhamita ma'am, Shubhankar sir, Topon sir. Because why we have included them in expert committee? Because they have some kind of training or some kind of links with this pre-incubation, design thinking, entrepreneur-like things. Then we have included some office members, Chumanto sir, Chandrasekhar sir, Kuntal sir, because if you have to translate your idea into business, you need necessary permission from our techno management itself. Forget about the government. So you need some kind of link with our higher management itself. So we have some kind of office member, then we have some technical members as well. So during last month, previous week or sometime before, we have did some extensive brainstorming in our institute itself, right? So where we had to identify the key areas onto which we will put our stress as of now. So this is as a whole what we have come up with. We have been able to identify some problem areas which we have to solve if we want to develop some kind of startup ecosystem here. Say in our institute, we have 300, 400 students, we have 60, 70 staffs. Okay, and at the end of the day, if someone in our neighborhood comes with some startup idea, we cannot return him away saying that, no, you are not an insider, so we cannot entertain you. You have to keep that door open as well. So our idea was something like, say, 60, 70 people come up with some business ideas. So you cannot entertain all the ideas, because as a general concept, you cannot translate all the ideas to successful business. For example, if you say that as of now, I want to make an e-commerce site from here, right? So as a general thinking, you can see that e-commerce business is so well developed that it is much difficult to be successful in the e-commerce domain as a new venture, right? You need a lot of capital here. So for our institute, in the startup ecosystem sense, we are at the initial phase. We cannot permit that idea, right? So we need some kind of filtering here, right? So that we can get the ideas from those 60 ideas, 10 to 15 ideas, say, which we can promote to be translated into successful business. Now, when our ideas are out of this funnel, still you can observe that the business idea is only a theoretical idea. Still, it is a theoretical idea. It has no business properties yet. So from theoretical idea to do business to make profit, you have to go a long path. And how you will translate your idea into a successful business concept, that is the next problem which we thought that as a new ventures we might have to face? The answer is incubation. So what is an incubation center? Incubation center is something into which you will translate your idea into a successful business. That might seem quite theoretical. I will try to put some light on this. To translate your concept into a business, first of all, you have to observe your level of knowledge, your level of aptitude about doing business. You might have come up with your product or service idea from engineering perspective, right? But still, if you observe yourself, you can figure out that you don't have much knowledge about government compliances. You don't have much knowledge about law and order. You don't have much knowledge about accounting. You don't have much knowledge about marketing, and so on. So, to help you out in those particular areas, you need some kind of specialist support, right? So incubation center is somewhere where you will get those supports. Now you need a place where you can develop your product, right? You have your product idea here, only idea. Now you need to develop some kind of prototype for the product. Once your prototype is successful, then you have to translate that prototype into marketable product model or service model. So the concept in a nutshell is something like you need uh, some kind of office space where you can work peacefully without facing external difficulties or interruptions. So incubation center is somewhere where you will get an office space as well, right? So that was the idea of incubation center. Now, from this point, we have come up with some idea onto which we need to make some study, right? And we have told ourselves to do something like an extensive study will be made on, while supporting startups on new ventures, which kind of ventures can be given support, as I have mentioned here. That means we will decide our work areas or business areas onto which we will give our support. Or in other words, which domains of the startups or which business domains can be supported. As I have mentioned before or some time ago, a big question mark is on the incubation center. If you look into IITs, they advertise their incubation centers nowadays. Bagfully, they brag about their incubation centers. But for a small institute like us, we don't have any on-campus incubation center as of now. But it doesn't mean that we cannot develop an incubation center here in our campus. So will setting up of incubation center in campus is feasible or not? Why we have to ask this question? Because when we want to promote some business idea in terms of incubation center, then we as a college, higher education institute, also has to face some compliances, right? We need some kind of licenses, we need some kind of permissions, such as take for example, nowadays government is promoting private space research or private, say, right? Now you ask to develop a space shuttle like or space probe like thing in our campus. So in that case, I believe that an incubation which will support those kind of things need to get necessary permission from the government, right? Because those things are basically high security areas and a lot of hazardous things will be there as well. So that is the idea by following which we correlate our top 2 points, which domains of the startups can be supported, and depending on the domains, can we start one incubation center in our campus? And if it is not feasible to start an incubation center in our campus, then can we collaborate with some off-campus incubation centers, or can both be done, right? So we will do some kind of feasibility study as well as do some requirement analysis for point 1 and 2. And once the problem of incubation center is solved, then you can see that if your project passes through this incubation center, then your full business model is ready. Here comes another hurdle, that is financing, right? You need money to do business. That is obvious. Now, to get recognition as a startup by Government of India, as I have mentioned before, you have to come up with your business either as a private limited company or as a limited liability partnership. Then from my idea, there are certain uh, fund grabbing mechanisms, such as you can ask funds from angel funding houses. Then you can get funding from venture capitalists. Now if you have your own money, you can self-fund your business as well. Now, what is the matter here? As I have mentioned that you have to come up with your business either as LLP or PVT Ltd, then these models are basically based on equity models. That means you have to decide some kind of uh, paid up capital for your business, and your paid up capital will be divided into some number of shares. Say if you have a paid up capital of 1 lakh, then you can divide this 1 lakh paid up capital into 1000 shares of 100 rupees each, and you can sell these shares to different stakeholders. Now, if you ask for support from these angel fund houses or venture capitalists, they will invest in your business by directly purchasing your share. So in that sense, what happens? They will be directly involved in your business, right? So what are the pros and cons? The pros are that you don't have to think about capital much. You can get some kind of expert support from these fund houses as well. And the biggest disadvantage is that the idea is yours, business is yours. Now you have not enough say over the business because they have invested much in your business so that they can directly have some say on your business, how your business will go on, how you have to manage your business, like those things. Now you can self-fund your business as well. If you have 10 to 15 friends, you can, and depending on your business model and capital requirement, if your capital requirement is less, say 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 20 lakhs of rupees, then you can ask your friends directly to support your business by purchasing your share, right? Now, one popular concept is that you can ask for bank loans or government funds. Now, we try to make some study on these provisions as well. We, from the committee of NISP Policy Implementation Committee, none of us are basically expert in this finance-like things, but we did some research on these things, and what we have come up is that for a LLP or private limited company, directly taking bank loans are not that much easy. Most of the times, what bank does is they provide loans if your project is vast enough, say you require 100 crore, 200 crore, such capitals for your business or project, then banks can think about providing loan support. Or if your idea is directly supported by government, then banks can provide you loans. And that is once again true for government funds as well. So these are the things which we had to or we have to think about while implementing the policy in our institute itself. That means we have to think about some idea by following which you can say that if your business idea is business ready, then you can fulfill your capital requirement in the institute itself. Depending on the project type, capital requirements and nature of the investor might be explored. Now, last important point which we have decided preliminarily is that we have observed that three primary stakeholders are there as of now. If you want to start a startup or new venture from our institute itself, and they will be startup founder, higher education institute. Why higher education institute? Because if you want to implement or translate your business idea in the institute itself, then from business perspective, you are using the resources of the higher education institute. So higher education institute must make some profit here also. Some provisions must be available for the higher education institute as well to make some profit. And last, stakeholders might be management or investors. Management, by management we mean to say, as a startup founder, you need to hire some kind of management staff, some kind of management persons in terms of directors, independent directors. Then there are certain categories of directors in your business. You need to hire a chief executive officer. So they will also be your stakeholders. Then investors are going to be your direct stakeholders. Now, the important thing from this point number 7 we want to figure out is that how much profit can be projected by each in terms of cash or kind. Because at the end of the day, when you want to do some kind of business, your goal is to earn some kind of profit. You need to earn cash as well as you need to earn some kind of goodwill. You need to provide or you need to give something to the society, and you need to have some kind of good or bad feedback from the society directly, right? So that was the idea about National Innovation and Startup Policy. Later on, we have to decide something about how to implement these things into our institute itself and forward our proposal to the higher management, to the government. If they agrees, then only we can come up with the ideas. So it is all from my side. Now I will like to ask you one thing, whether you are a committee member or not. As committee members, we are thinking about this innovation and startup policy and how to implement this day and night. If you are not a committee member, then also your feedback or your ideas about implementing those policies will be important for us. So that is all from my side. If you want to give some input, then you can directly give here.
তাইয়া
Hello.
তো খাইবা কারাও
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yeah. So that is all from my side. If you want to give some ideas, you can give here also. Here is the document which I am sharing in the chat box, which you can see onto your screens. National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019 for students and faculty. You can go through the document and you can surely come up with some ideas so that we can add those ideas with our points and come up with something so that we can develop some kind of startup ecosystem in our institute itself.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Do you have any question? Participant, do you have any question? So you can ask to sir directly. Or in chat box, you can write your question if you have any question about this wonderful session. Anyone have any question? Mute yourself, your question. I'm requesting the feedback form what I am sharing with this in chat box also and also in YouTube. Okay, so please fill up your feedback form of this session. It might be help us to
So if they have no queries as of now, can we conclude?
yes, sure, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you for very much and very informative session, sir. It was amazing, so full of information. So thank you, sir. So we are going to conclude our this session. Next session we will start at 2 p.m. This is session on creative thinking, innovation and entrepreneurship. Right? 1 to 2. This is lunch time. We'll meet. We'll gather again on the same link at 2 p.m. Okay.
Sir, hello.
Yes.
Yes.
So what is the Macau roll number? We haven't got any roll number.
Roll number is university roll number. Just put
So we haven't.
university roll number. Yes.
We haven't got roll number.
Okay, then have you any class roll number?
No, sir.
Okay, then you can NA. Just write here NA.
Oh,
Not
okay, sir.
application.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Sure.
okay. So all of you, please fill up the feedback form. Okay. Thank you, sir. Pallab Nandi sir. Pallab Nandi Chaudhary sir.
Sir, it's not taking NA.
Yes, sir, it's not taking any.
It want
Sir,
numeric.
pattern is
You
not
can
matching, sir.
you can
Actually,
you can put here 0000 like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, it's
Thank
not
you all.
accepting that also.
Yes.
It's not accepting 00.
00. Wait, I have to change the type.
I think it's 244.
Because previously I put
Okay.
244.
If you people are from first year, right?
Yes, sir.
You don't have.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Just put 244. Just
Oh,
put
okay.
244. It will accept.
Yeah, it accepted.
Okay. Okay. So we are going to conclude this session. Next session we will meet at 2 p.m. Right?
Sir, will you please repeat the roll number, MacOut roll number?
244. Just put here 244.
Okay,
For
sir.
first year student, put roll number in the place of roll number is 244. Just put 244.
Sir, can you send me the link once again?
Sure.
Sir, it's so redirecting. Sir, link is not open.
There is some. I hope from your hand there are some network issue. Just reopen it again.
Okay, sir.
You can see the feedback form on the screen itself. Right? Here you have to write down your email address and full name. Then you have to
Getting any.
select
You can put
you are a student. Then you have to write down your full name.
Yes, you can leave. Okay, Rajdeep, you can leave.
Sir, I've completed, sir. Can I leave?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, there is an announcement. After the last session, there is another feedback link and also some quiz. I hope so. You have I'm requesting to all of you have to present there, right? After the last session.
Okay,